Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm John.
I'm Brandon.
We are Just Saying Film Review, and this is our review of Red 2. So yeah, Red 2, obviously it features a lot of the people from the first one. You got John Malkovich as crazy LSD-laced Marvin.
And
You have Bruce Willis
as Moses, Frank Moses.
your lead.
Then you got,
Mary Louise Parker.
returning as Sarah Ross. There's some new additions in it as well. Catherine Zetta Jones as Katja. I don't remember the name of the actor who plays Han, but he's not been in much of anything. He was in a G.I. Joe movie.
Anthony Hopkins, also a interesting character. Won't get too much into that, but a pivotal part of the film, nevertheless.
Right. And those are your main name actors that you will see in this film. But as I said, I think that this film is definitely better than the original Red. It has funnier points in it. It's definitely far more memorable of a story than the original Red.
I was going to actually say to that point, yeah, I really don't remember a lot from the original Red. In fact, I remember pretty much forgetting it within a day or two of seeing it. This film is definitely a lot more fun and a lot more well written. It's definitely a lot more memorable, and it's a better film.
Right. That being said, there's other points to make along with it that it's not exactly a great film. I mean, if you liked the original Red, then you will love this film. You'll think it's everything that you loved about the original Red is here and done better. But I don't think it's done well enough to win over people who didn't like the original, like myself. One of the saving graces for the original Red, and it was the only saving grace for the original Red for me, was John Malkovich as Marvin. He was just so crazy in the original Red and just so funny that he was the only thing that I walked away with saying, I liked this. Only part of the original Red that I actually enjoyed. In this film, however, Marvin seems a little toned down. Everything that I really liked about him, it comes out like every now and then, but as an overall character, he seems much more mellowed out in this one. Which, again, I guess isn't a bad thing per se, but it made him a lot less funny to me. He was no longer the super memorable. He was still memorable in this, but he was no longer that super memorable, super awesome character that I enjoyed from the first. To quickly touch my other points is times that physics mattered, and then later on in the film they didn't remotely matter. Like they would bend physics, and then they got to the point that they would just completely shatter them without a care in the world. The ending was so predictable. I actually predicted the ending a good half hour before it happened. And then there's some strange character changes where a character was set up to do one thing and then for no apparent reason flipped over and did something completely different. Just weird character arcs that didn't make much sense. Do you want to go ahead and quickly do your points?
Yeah, so, for me, the strongest points of the films, I thought, were Anthony Hopkins, as always. He's a load of fun. He really, really takes to his character, and I love that. This is one of the better Bruce Willis performances we've gotten. I mean, he actually did seem to do a little bit more. He still was typical Bruce Willis, so I'm not going to give him complete credit there. Being it that I don't really remember how crazy Marvin was in the first one, because it just really, the movie has just washed right over my head. I didn't really have that problem. I actually thought Marvin was great, and this movie was very funny, and most of the time John Malkovich was the reason for said comedic moments. The movie, however, does have a few different plot points that are very, very cliche. Some of them not even modern cliches. It's like, come on, this is your typical 90s action movie. Also, I think the biggest problem for me in the movie is the character of Sarah. Mary Louise Parker.
Yeah, Mary Louise Parker.
Yeah, Mary Louise Parker. I just wanted to make sure. She wasn't a bad actress, but I don't know if it was the way she was directed or written. I feel like her character almost single-handedly ruined the movie for me. Almost. I really think without her, this movie would have been 10 times better. To my final point, I also agree with Brandon. Yeah, I can take movies that just completely disregard physics, but when half the movie, you're decently realistic, and then you just completely let go of that, it kind of takes me out of the film.
They did a few, for the most part of the film, physics mattered. There were only 3 scenes I can state, which I won't for the sake of not ruining the film, that really just shattered physics, but every time they happen, they're big parts, it just took me completely out of the movie. One that we've mentioned that's, I think, in the trailer. They do the same card trick that they did in the original Red, where, Bruce Willis stepped out of the car and then, barely missed and kept walking, except they did it in reverse of him getting into a car. Which, again, if the film had actually consistently been physics doesn't matter, would have been fine. But the way they did it just made it utterly stupid to me.
Another weird point that we kind of both agreed on was, I don't know if they were trying to cap it under, a safe PG-13 rating, but outside of punch bruises and, shrapnel cuts, there's absolutely no blood in this film.
Right. There was multiple times I was just looking for, a little trickler from the mouth, just something small.
A knife that maybe have cut somebody. No, there was no blood outside of, a busted lip or a shrapnel cut. So,
yeah. And the lack of it, that uses a distinct lack of blood. One that comes to mind right now is The Dark Knight. That at some level you don't notice. They hide it well enough with the cuts and with the way that they do it. This film does not attempt to hide it at all, and it is just so in your face, blatant that there is no blood and there should be. That it really rips you out of the movie, pretty hardcore.
I will say I didn't notice it as much until afterwards, but it has dawned on me since.
Oh, yeah. The whole time I was sitting there, it's there should be something here, and there's not.
Anyways, all in all, I think even as somebody I can occasionally, to an extent, turn my brain off and just enjoy senseless entertainment, this movie, you're not going to get a lot more action. It's more for the laughs. This is it's awkward in the sense that it's kind of more comedy, but you still get your action. So this is just kind of one of those movies for me where if you don't have anything to do that day and you got $5 for a matinee showing, by all means, see it that way.
In my opinion, with this film, I think it would have been a much stronger film had it not been for the ending. For the last 45 minutes or so, it just really fell apart hardcore. I would have said, if you have $5, you could consider going to see it, but the way the rest, the ending of the film, the predictability, the fact that I knew it was going to happen a good 30 minutes or so before it happened, the weird character changes and everything else that happened with that ending, it just bring it down so hardcore that I think when it comes out on DVD, you should probably see it. It'll be a good little thing to watch on the DVD, but I don't really see any reason to see
Redbox or
Redbox or something like that. There's no reason to see it in theaters, in my opinion.
So you're saying all in all, it's kind of a passable movie.
Yeah, it's good. Like I said, I really don't see any reason why anyone should see the original Red. But this one, I think you should catch it. It's just no reason to see it on the big screen. There's no reason to pay that kind of money for it.
Yeah, so all in all, we're pretty much on the same par. If you miss this film, you're not really completely missing out. But, if you need something to do, check it out. But that's just kind of our opinions. You might have yours. They might be different, but, we're just saying.